Hey guys, James here with Waterford Business Solutions. And we started talking a little bit last year about kind of the difference and the benefits of renting versus buying equipment, vehicles, leases, but we didn't get the chance to kind of finish out that discussion. There were so many different things to talk about, and rightfully so. When we're talking about finances, when we're talking about business operations, there's a lot of different things. So we had one video that kind of got pushed a little later than we'd like to, but with the end of the year and wanting to prep for taxes and everything like that, we thought it was honestly best to push this a little bit longer. And so we wanted to wrap up that series, wrap up this discussion, and talk about renting or buying tools and what makes the most sense for you from that perspective. Now, I do invite you to go back, and back in September of last year, we talked about leasing versus buying equipment. We also talked about leasing versus buying vehicles in August. So if you're looking for things specifically like that, that are bigger investments, bigger things there, I definitely invite you to go ahead and go back and watch that. But if you're looking for smaller things, we're talking tools, screwdrivers, drills, even sewer cameras or refrigerant captures or something like that, this is the video that's going to be for you. Now, before we jump in here, I do go ahead and invite you to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel here. We put out videos just like this, geared to help home service professionals just like you to better understand their business operations, their finances, and their financial operations. We do this every single Monday, and there's a wealth of information that we provide. You can easily see, based off of our prior history, exactly what we're putting out. And we already have our entire layout done here through mid 2026, and we're working on the end of 2026 already so that we can put out helpful information just for you guys. Now, when we're looking at tools, quite frankly, most of the time, my answer's always going to be to buy. Most tools are going to be a fairly low amount. We're going to be sub 500, almost always sub $1,000, unless we're talking big expensive tools like sewer cameras or scopes or leak finding machines that plumbers are going to work with, maybe going into some electrical stuff. But most of the time, the tools that clients are going to use outside of the plumbing industry are going to be fairly inexpensive. And quite frankly, even if you're only going to use it once, you'll probably find a use for it again in the future. So as long as you take care of that tool, you clean it after the use, you store it in a clean, dry place, even if you're not going to use it for 5 or 10 years, but you're organized, the tool's kept clean, in good condition, you'll probably find a use for it in future. So in general, the rule of thumb that I'm going to go off of is you should buy your tools. Renting rarely benefits anyone because even if you are renting for a one-time or a handful of uses, it's just really not going to make too much sense there because the cost to rent that tool in the long run is going to outweigh the benefit of not physically paying for that tool. Now, when we get into maybe some larger tools, some more heavy duty drills, maybe some jackhammers, things like that, we are starting to verge on equipment and everything there, but we could still be in a tool category. If it is a tool that's starting to get over $1,000 range and you really don't think you're going to use it more than once or often enough to justify the cost, that's when renting could make sense. But it is really going to come down to a situation of how expensive is that tool and how often are you going to use it. The other thing that I want you to always consider when you're looking at acquiring a new tool is not, okay, I'm only going to use this tool once, but also have in the back of your mind, okay, I need this tool for this job. How can I get more jobs that would require this tool? Because if you're needing a specialized tool, more than likely it's going to be a higher income job for you, and you'll probably net a little bit more profit. So before we even discuss renting a tool, when and if it comes to it, always take a step back and consider not just the current job that you're needing that tool for, but how you can convert more jobs in the future or get more jobs in the future to needing that same tool. Because that could then justify the capital expenditure to acquire that tool and pay for that tool out front. Now, at the end of the day, if you're bad with taking care of your tools, if you're not good at cleaning them after use, or you just don't have enough space to store tools, that could be another situation where renting a tool could make sense. If you've got a small little shed in your backyard and it's already overflowing, your wife's already yelling at you that there's no more space because you're already taking over the dining room too, maybe we should rent that tool until you have some more space. But in general, the cost of renting is not going to benefit you in the long run. Now, from a tax perspective, ultimately, most of the time, tools aren't going to be capitalized. That means they're not really going to go on the balance sheet. Our general rule of thumb here at Waterford is a tool needs to be something, or anything going on your balance sheet needs to be something that costs over $1,000 and you're going to use and be able to continue using for at least 2 to 3 years. Anytime that it's less than that, generally we just go ahead and expense it out anyway. So you're not getting any tax benefit to leasing versus buying or renting versus buying, because you're probably getting a bigger tax benefit by buying the tool up front, since we're expensing the entire thing, and that's likely going to be a larger expense in the first place for you. Now, long term, over many years, if you end up renting a tool multiple times and it does exceed the cost of buying that tool, well, that'll be the bigger tax benefit. But in the short term, buying that tool up front will probably provide that better tax benefit. So it's something that I look at with clients all the time towards the end of the year, and we say, hey, where are your growth plans for your company? What specialties are you potentially looking at going into? What new tools might you need? Because that can be a great tax deduction where they buy the tools that they're planning on needing in the next year in the first place with the money that they've got in the current year to reduce that taxable liability at the end of the year. Now, I know this was definitely a little bit of a shorter video from what we normally do, but at the end of the day, renting versus buying tools, it's a much clearer decision than when we're talking about leasing versus buying a vehicle or leasing versus buying equipment. So it is honestly an easier topic to talk about, so it allows for a shorter video. But if you've got questions or want to know what the best options are for you, or whether you've got the cash flow to buy that tool or something that you're looking to invest in, we're here at Waterford to help explain that and work with you to better understand your finances and plan for your financial future with your business. Feel free to go ahead and give us a call at 864-351-0852 or shoot us an email at info@waterfordbusiness.com, and we'd be happy to help you. But you're also, as always, more than welcome to just join us every week here on YouTube to get more great information just like this to continue running your company.